When you feel like you have no options, the best thing you can do is work on your vibration. I can't sit here and be depressed. I gotta do something. This is very vulnerable, you guys. Am I even gonna post this? So yeah, I'm gonna be spilling the tea and sharing things that I have probably never shared publicly before. I'm gonna have a good day, even if it don't go my way. I'm in flow, I'm okay. I'm expressing the best of me. I'm gonna have a good day, even if it don't go my way. I'm in flow, I'm okay. I'm expressing the best of me. And if you love that intro music, that is Good Day by Shariya that I intentionally wrote to help you manifest, attract, and have the best possible day for you despite what happens outside of you, because you have a perception to see how every moment of every day is offering you an amazing opportunity. Yes, ma'am? Welcome to episode 4 of the Affirmation Station, where we talk about high vibrations, love, liberation, communication, and conscious conversation. Y'all, the Affirmation Station Podcast is our safe space where we come together to crystallize our waters and speak divinity into our being. I am your host, Shariya Wise. I'm a being who creates to inspire high vibrational living. So as I actively create my perception of heaven on earth, I share what I can, and we evolve, grow, and get better together. Yes, ma'am? Now, of course, first and foremost, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for creating space with me. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for creating time so that we can have this intentional, conscious conversation together. Now, before we get into today's intimate ass episode, y'all, I'm going to be spilling the tea and sharing things that I have probably never shared publicly before. In this episode today, before we even do that, we always have to thank our amazing sponsor, God and the universe, always keeping us abundant, protected, supplied for, provided for, loved. Thank you so much, universe, for giving us this time and space and intentionality to come together and have this conversation that we about to have right now, okay? Because on my broadcast channel on Instagram, by the way, if you haven't already, join the Wise Tribe Community broadcast channel on Instagram. That is at my personal Instagram channel, Shariya Wise. That is SHARIYAWISE, okay? I asked a few weeks ago, what are some things that you guys would love for me to speak about on a podcast? And one of our sisters in the broadcast channel asked me, what are some of the challenges that I faced on my healing journey, and how did I grow from it? And I think this is a really great question, because I speak about affirmations and mindfulness and all these different things so much, but a lot of you guys don't know where I came from. I have high ass self-esteem now, confident now, financially stable now. You know what I'm saying? I love myself now. And that's what you guys get to experience, this version of me, but I wasn't always here, you guys. And I didn't have the examples to teach me how to get here. I had to figure it out myself. So today we're gonna dive a bit into my journey, okay? So let's get right into it, you guys. Let me set a timer so that I don't overspeak. Please set a timer for 22 minutes.
22 minutes starting now.
Okay, so I think it's really important to share a bit of my background, you guys. First and foremost, what's up, y'all? I am Shariya Wise. Shariya is actually my middle name, okay? From Brooklyn, New York. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York by my black mom and my Haitian grandmother and like that side of the family. However, I will say there's a whole bunch of other influences from influential people in my life, or people that were influential, not even necessarily in a positive way, just influential in molding me to have the perception that I used to have, right? There was a lot of people, I seen a lot of things growing up that really molded my subconscious mind to have very low self-esteem. To be very transparent, you guys, I didn't necessarily experience men treating women with love. I didn't experience men really valuing the woman that was in their life, but simultaneously, I didn't see the women in my life valuing themselves. So if you don't value yourself, of course, you cannot attract someone who's going to value you. But that is because no one has ever been taught how to value themselves. No one has ever been taught how to value anyone else. And it's just, you can't necessarily value anyone else in a healthy way if you don't value yourself. Now, in addition to me experiencing unhealthy romantic dynamics in my life between men and women, I also experienced a lot of poverty consciousness. Like, I didn't even know at the time, but I was always so afraid to lose money. I was so afraid to spend money. I had terrible, money habits. For me, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, I was molded to believe my value came from the money that I was able to make. And not just because I was valuable, just because, hey, you're a human being, you have a good heart, you're valuable. No, it's just, you're not making no money. What's your value to me type of vibe. And like I said, that might have never been the intention of the people that raised me, which I doubt it was. But I'm speaking of how I perceived life based on how I was raised. We may jump around a little bit, but I think it's very important for me to express where I've been, how it comes. So thank you for your patience. But I was also molded in a way to really feel like my universe didn't really have that much value if I didn't have a man. You know what I'm saying? I feel like also too, this is very vulnerable, you guys. Am I even gonna post this? But you know what? I was never really taught how to value connections with women. You know what I'm saying? Like my whole entire life, my value, I feel, or a part of me feeling wanted and feeling loved was for me to have a man. But the thing was, like, I never knew how to attract a healthy man because I never seen healthy romantic dynamics in my life. I had low self-esteem. I had people in my life that raised me that would like look at me as like a 6, 7, 8-year-old child and call me ugly and call me fat and would like make fun of the acne that I had. And that really gave me low ass self-esteem. And then I was also being picked on for that at school. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm sharing all of this to basically let you know that I did not have great self-esteem. I was depressed my whole life. I didn't even realize that I was depressed. That was my state of being. Like, I was just a sad ass girl. I would go to school and put on a front and a mask. Also, I'm probably neurodivergent. Okay, let's start there. But I would go to school and put on a mask, which is so exhausting. And I didn't realize any of this as a child. I was in middle school and high school, elementary. I didn't know any of this. But this is what I was doing. I'm super self-aware now, so I could look back and be like, oh, that's what was happening. I would put on a mask at school. If you aren't familiar with the terminology of masking when it comes to neurodivergence, look it up, you guys. But basically, masking is putting on a front to be socially acceptable, putting on a persona to be socially acceptable to those that are neurotypical, right? And so I would go to school and I would have this mask on. I would come back home and I would literally be in the worst mood. I would feel so angry. Like I was a sad ass child, mind you. I want to give so much gratitude to my parents. I want to still give so much gratitude to the people that raised me because they were only doing their best by what they knew was the best to do at that time. You know what I'm saying? I had a great life. But for me, I'm just sharing how vibrationally and mentally and emotionally and spiritually sick I was my whole life. And it was a byproduct of basically how I was raised and the norms I seen and the things that I seen growing up and the things that people told me around me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna get into it too much, but long story short, I hated myself. I felt like when I looked in the mirror, I used to feel so ugly. I'm not gonna hold you. And it's so sad because when I look in the mirror now, every time I look in the mirror now, I'm like, damn, you look good. Like, you are really a beautiful ass woman. Damn, but I did not feel that way. I felt like my life is a 180 from how I was raised and where I've been. I feel so good about myself now. I love myself. I cherish myself. And every day I'm learning more and more how to value myself because I also acknowledge that I came from emotional intelligence, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-love, ground zero. Hello? I did. And I'm a very stoic being, meaning I could be going through a whole ass chaotic moment in my life and I will present myself to you like this, poised, okay? I don't ever look like how I've been through since I was a child, okay? I said this a few times, but to make a long story short, I've been able to transform my life, you guys. There was also a point in time where I was hella fucking broke all the fucking time. And I'm still in a space where I'm building my wealth because wealth is everlasting and always coming and flowing to me. So my wealth is inevitably building and building now, but I was not here, okay? I remember someone very significant in my life that raised me told me that I should go and be a doctor. Mind you, never did well in science class. Maybe living environment, because I've always been like a planty, earthy girl, and that was about earth and stuff. Living environment was great, but I was never a science girl. I was actually more of a creative than anything. You know what I'm saying? I never really passed science ever. Chemistry, I was in summer school for chemistry. Why would I be a doctor? The person who told me this, he knew this. You know what I'm saying? But it was about, go do this. And this person out of their mouth said, you go and be a doctor for 20 years, go make money, and then you go do something you love. Little things like that. And also, I'm so sensitive, and I've been sensitive, but before I didn't have any spiritual, emotional, or energetic hygiene, nor boundaries. And so because of that, I was like always pulled in so many different ways, and I was always so malleable, and I'm still a very teachable person. If there's something that I need to learn, I could learn it. You can teach me. I'm very teachable, but it was in a sense where it was just like I didn't have any guidance for myself. I would do whatever anyone told me to do. And thank God that I'm safe now, because it's like a person with low self-esteem is a person with low self-esteem is one of the scariest things, because, and not scary to the people around them, but scary to themselves. A person with low self-esteem will get themselves into some crazy ass situations because they want to be loved so damn bad, but they don't realize that, first off, you got to love yourself to attract anyone that's going to love you. But second off, you can't get love from outside of yourself if you don't have it within you. But you craving that love. Someone with low self-esteem, they crave love. At the end of the day, we all just want love, right? And let me stay on track. What is that? Let me stay on track, you guys. And so up until college, I had very low self-esteem. And to be honest, it was very evident that I had low self-esteem. But it wasn't until after college that I started having awakenings like, yo, I don't have to be this way. I don't have to settle for this nonsense. I don't have to put myself in compromising situations to feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel seen. You know what I'm saying? I don't got to do that type of vibe. But it was very evident that I didn't love myself. It was very evident that I didn't have self-esteem. It was never instilled into me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have that kind of energy around me. I had a lot of people that were in survival mode that also hated themselves that was raising me. You know what I'm saying? And until a pattern is healed, it will keep on freaking going generationally. And based on even the partner that I chose, like my ex from years and years and years and years and years ago, like it was clear this woman don't have no self-worth. You can't have self-worth dealing with someone like that. You know what I'm saying? I allowed people to abuse me because I didn't know what love was. I didn't know what healthy love was. I seen love where people suffered. You know what I'm saying? And so I attracted that into my life. I'm a type of person that when I'm in a relationship, I promise I will do all I can to take care of you. I love taking care of my partner. Now, that was how I was when I was unhealed. I'm still like that now, but it's very dangerous when you're an unhealed person who is a natural giver, because you're going to give everything you need for your sustenance away. And that's exactly what I did. You know what I'm saying? And I take accountability. This is not for me. None of this that I'm saying here is for me to express victimhood. It's not. But I feel like it's important for y'all to know where I've been, because y'all get to see me now. I'm Shariya Wise. I've enhanced. I have empowered. I have evolved myself by myself. There is nobody that can take credit for where I am in life right now but me. I didn't have any handouts. I had people that could help me and they chose not to help me. Okay? But let me also start with to say I did have a place to stay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I didn't have that. But as far as support, I didn't really have people encouraging me. In fact, that's another thing. I also had literal people telling me that, especially when I was on the journey of seeing how I was going to make this entrepreneurship work, I had people that raised me that literally told me, this is not going to work. You need to go get a job. You need to go get a 9-to-5. And not to say that, because listen, your first supporters are not going to be, most likely, your first supporters are not going to be the people around you that raise you. It's not their vision for them to see. This is your vision. You got to be the one to see it through. And so it was 2017. I went to LA and I kept seeing the number 22. But even prior to that, I kept seeing the number 22. And it was very trippy. I was sharing this with just my family and loved ones and friends around me. Everyone thought I was a nutcase, okay? I was seeing angel number 22. I didn't know it at the time. So I go on Professor Google, of course, and I'm like, hey, I keep seeing the number 22. And I learned about something called angel numbers. Now, I'm sharing this with the people around me, and they're looking at me like I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So that made me stop sharing things as much and come to myself a little bit. I'm still doing these deep dives and going down these different rabbit holes to learn the phenomenon that I'm experiencing. But everyone around me, they're not experiencing it, and they don't have any conscious awareness to really say, oh, hey, you're just, you know what I'm saying? You're just seeing synchronicities. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have that. So that put me into what we call a hermit mode, right? I went into a space of solitude, right? And then I had break up with my ex, and so now I'm not really talking to much of my family. They're grateful enough that they're still around me, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not really talking to them. I'm not really expressing. I'm not really sharing things with them because I don't feel safe to, right? And I don't have him as a distraction anymore. All I got is me now. Beautiful. It was beautiful. It was painful, but it was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And I started learning. I started finding mentors online because I'm like, oh, angel numbers. But then once you learn about angel numbers, the rabbit holes just continue. I'm still going down gosh darn rabbit holes. Hello? Like, the rabbit holes never stop. Yo, there's so much to learn about the trueness of Earth, law of attraction, manifestation, synchronicities, vibrations. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go watch The Matrix again, yo. Anyway. Yo, and so I had a long time from the time that I broke up with my ex to 2020, let's say from around 2018 to 2022. I moved back home to New York City. I was with family, and that was probably one of the toughest spans of my life. I was probably in deep depression, like depressional episodes for probably like a week at a time, and I would have 2 a month. It was bad. I was in a very low space. But during this time, I was meditating, and I was doing affirmations, and I was learning from spiritual leaders online, and I was finding big sis, because I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the oldest child, I'm the oldest niece, I'm the oldest grandchild, I'm the oldest everything, right? I didn't have anyone above me where I could be like, I want to be like them. I had to find those people online. I started finding so many big sisters online, and not even, some of them were big sisters, some of them were my age, but they were just, I perceived them to be more evolved in their careers than me. I created my own world. You know what I'm saying? I created my own world. I took the TV out of my room. I went through a death and rebirth. I was depressed for so long to the point where it was just like, I'm not about to sit here and be depressed. I can't sit here and be depressed. I got to do something. That put me into a state of mindfulness every day. Because mind you, I'm doing rabbit holes throughout this whole time. I'm learning this, I'm learning this, I'm learning this, all triggered by the angel numbers. And I'm learning that when you feel like you have no options, the best thing you can do is work on your vibration. That's exactly what I started doing. I had a tiny, blessed enough, but a tiny ass room that barely got sunlight, right? And I was in that room for most of my time. I was at the gym and I was in that room. I was broke. I was broke. Okay, at the time I was doing makeup, but then 2020, COVID happened, nobody was booking, and I couldn't take clients. So the only thing I had to do, literally, like I was in such a low space, the only thing that I had the option of doing was my mindfulness and going to the gym. I had a $10 a month membership, okay? I was doing my mindfulness, going to the gym. Doing my mindfulness, going to the gym. And I did this for 2 years straight. I'm going to the gym probably 5 times a week, in there like swimwear, because that was what was keeping me sane. Throughout all of this, I was broke. Throughout all of this, I was still attracting masculines that didn't really value me as much as I knew that I desired to be valued. When you see someone outside of you as a woman, this is me just speaking as a woman who didn't know what self-worth was, right? When you're seeing women outside of you being treated like queens, princesses, and goddesses by men, you see that it's possible. So then it creates introspection within you when it's just like, why haven't I attracted that yet? Which makes you go do another deep dive and another, you know what I'm saying? It makes you have so much introspection. It makes you do shadow work. It makes you do inner child work, because it's just like, yo, I know what I desire. I know how much of a great heart I have. Why was I not attracting those kind of masculines over there? So I had my gym and I had my mindfulness. I'm repeating every day. Now during this time, I am learning. I am like learning the laws of life. I'm learning law of attraction. I'm learning about my vibration. I'm learning about how like my subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what I'm visualizing. I'm learning so much self-development. Like I'm watching videos. I'm listening to audiobooks. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to people on YouTube that are in the life coaching space. I'm doing the work. I'm learning. So now I would say I'm definitely awakened, right? Now this is maybe 2 years. So let's say this is around 2020. I'm finally awakened. The people around me are definitely still very much asleep. You know what I'm saying? I had the privilege of waking a few people in my family up. You know what I'm saying? Some people are still waking up. Some people ain't gonna wake up. But that's neither here nor there. In 2020, still learning, but I have so much wisdom and awareness, and I'm learning how to not take things personal, and I'm learning that even though it was hurtful, I really needed everything that I've been through so that I could be the one to transmute all of this heavy ass, unhealthy ass generational patterns that have been played out in our generations, in my lineage for years, for generations. You know what I'm saying? 2020, I have enough. I'm still healing, still very much healing, but I have more than enough knowledge to be walking wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So then 2020, no clients are booking. I'm a makeup artist, mind you. No clients are booking, and I can't take clients. And that was my only stream of income at the time. So what do? I go on TikTok. I don't know, I just, you know what I'm saying? I'm learning all these things. Let me just share some intentional wisdom. One time I did that, and it got a response, and then I responded to that response, and then I got responses to that response, and then after a while I had a small community of people on TikTok that were actually listening to the healing that I was sharing. And when I say the healing, listening to the ideas that I have healed myself with. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just intentional community that I'm creating on TikTok of people who are in the self-development space. You know what I'm saying? People who are invested in their growth, in their evolution, in enhancing their lives, experiencing heaven on earth. You know what I'm saying? And I started sharing videos on TikTok. And 2 years later, that was 2020, and 2022, I'm just still a creator on TikTok. But because I'm creating this community, and mind you, I want to say, before I created the community, I didn't even necessarily have an intention of creating a community. I was actually using TikTok as an outlet to share all the things that I couldn't share to the people around me because they were asleep. And after a while, I create this intentional community of people, right? Oh, and that's what I was saying. Before I had the community, I was doing the work for years. I really want to specify and really emphasize that I was doing the inner work for years. I would put a sign on my door. Oh my gosh, ask the people I used to live with, okay? I would put a sign on my door and blast frequency so everybody knew. Ashley is meditating right now. Yeah, my first name is Ashley. And in the midst of me doing that, I was doing my journaling, I was doing my affirmations, I was in the mirror talking life to myself, talking myself up. Yeah, every day, and I still have the journals. One of these days, I might do even a mini docuseries, a documentary, and this is decades in the future, just saying. But I wish I could show y'all right now. I don't know where the books are. It's somewhere deep in my closet. One of these days, I'm gonna go and show y'all. I have stacks of journals, and I was journaling every day. I was doing the 369 method every day. I was visualizing, doing my affirmations and journaling every day without fail, every day. Listen, that was my saving grace, because all the energy that I put into that, it never went unheard or unnoticed by the universe. The universe acknowledged it, and now I'm living in it. But I was doing that for 2 years, broke. I was doing that for 2 years, unhappy. I was doing that for 2 years straight before anything tangible came into my life. I was doing that for 2 years straight before a community on TikTok started building on my behalf. I was doing that for 2 years straight before opportunities that was really able to get me out of the poverty that I was in came to me. I had to learn millionaire consciousness before I had even a few $1,000s to get me to, you know what I'm saying? I had to learn these things and embody it to the best of my ability before all of those things came into my vibration, before it was a vibrational match. I had to do a lot of inner work to let these things that I was manifesting, the lifestyle that I get to live now, and I'm still enhancing my lifestyle right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in a growing space, but for me to be here, self-sufficient, confident, loving my life, loving myself, by myself, this is a miracle, yo. This is a miracle, but it's not at the same time. Because before, a version of me that would see me living how I get to live now, self-sufficient and balanced, ahead of my finances every day, every month, every year, a younger version of myself would have seen this as impossible. I used to think that it's so sad. It's like I'm so grateful to be this version of me, but I promise if I ever have children, they're going to have the highest self-esteem. They're going to have confidence. They are going to know that they are loved, but more importantly, I'm going to show them and teach them how to love themselves. That is so important. I used to have a terrible view and scope and lens of myself. And so because of that, I would allow ridiculous shit, excuse my language, from myself and from others. And no one deserves to be that way, No one deserves to be in a space where they really hate themselves, and if it wasn't for the people that love them, they would take their life. That's fucked up. People shouldn't have to live that way. And I used to live that way. But you know what? I'm grateful now that I have done the inner work to heal. And there are people in my life that I had to forgive that never said sorry, that never apologized, because they don't even see that they did anything wrong. Not that they did anything wrong, because they did the best that they could, but actions have consequences. Actions have byproducts. And your actions affect people. That's why it's so important to heal yourself, right? Especially before you start bringing life into this world. Heal yourself. And I'm still healing myself. I'm in a space where I'm healing my attachment styles. You know what I'm saying? But I'm aware enough to realize that there's work that still has to be done. And going back to me forgiving people that never apologized. I'm cool with people that raised me that used to say messed up, nasty things to me. And I'm not cool with them in the sense that, oh, you get to come over my house whenever you want. Nah, I got strict, firm boundaries. But it's no beef, it's all love. Because I also acknowledge that they was never taught how to love themselves. And they received dopamine and fulfillment from bringing me down. And not even me, it's not a personal thing. They felt that from bringing other people down because they wanted people to feel as low as they feel. I get it now. I see it for what it is. It's okay. I'm not going to hold you accountable for, I do hold you accountable for that, but I'm not going to blame you for your lack of consciousness and awareness. You don't know. You literally don't know. It's like a lot of times the people around us, especially if we are the ones that are awakened or more awakened, the people around you can have grown ass human bodies, but have the mentality and emotional intelligence of a 7-year-old. It's very normal, unfortunately. And maybe it shouldn't be normal. It's not normal, but it's normalized. I tell you that much. But I see it for what it is. And another part of my healing, with me doing that mindfulness consistently until my subconscious mind got with the program, in addition to me doing that, I had to forgive. You don't forgive for other people. You forgive for yourself. Don't hold on to that energy. You gotta forgive, you gotta transmute that energy, feel it too. And we spoke about this in episode 2 of the Affirmation Station Podcast, so definitely go check that out after this episode. But be real with yourself and feel how you feeling with the person that was involved in the way you feeling. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. But also remember that life is a mirror. You are molded to have the programmings to attract that. Feel victorious. Don't feel like a victim. Take your life back. Get with that mindfulness. Get with the mindfulness. Get with the mindfulness, because that is your tool to reprogramming the mind that creates your reality. So you know what, guys? I can go on and on. And one day, I'm going to get even deeper, because this was very surface level. It's vulnerable for me, but still very surface level. I can go into real details on some of the things that really molded me to have the low-ass, terrible view of myself that I had. I hated myself. And it's so sad because I love myself, I really love myself. And it shows too. Like, I will make difficult decisions in honor of myself because I deserve that. And in addition to that, I can't just look at me and look at my life and think that it's only for me. I am a woman with a womb. Thank God I have generations inside of me. And if I don't heal this, it'll be passed down to them. And how dare I? I'm too aware for that. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot for sure. And I'm gonna stop it there. Thank y'all thank you for just creating space with me. Thank you for listening to me. Let me know what really touched y'all in this episode, but also let me know how y'all healing. And if you feel safe enough to, this is a safe space, right? But I will not force anyone's hand in vulnerability, right? Because that's personal. But if it feels like it's in alignment, and if you feel called to, definitely share some of the things that you have grown from. Show us how you've empowered yourself. Show us how you've enhanced your vibration, so now you get to experience things that maybe you never thought you would get the chance to experience. Share that with us. We want to know. But you guys, you know what? Let's get into some more exciting news, you guys. I have officially relaunched IlluminateLifeCompany.com, and that is my high vibrational shop and boutique. I just created some amazing new products. I'm currently awaiting the samples of them right now, but as soon as I get the go, because I'm only going to give y'all quality, intentional quality, and as soon as I receive it and I get to experience it for myself, I'm going to share it with you guys. And this is actually really special, you guys, so definitely head to IlluminateLifeCompany.com, where you are going to wear and express and have and be and feel your divinity proudly. Yes, ma'am. Also head to ShariyaWise.com. That's where I have the Sis You a Bad Bitch music meditation to raise your bad bitch vibrations. If you're unfamiliar, my song Sis You a Bad Bitch, even when you don't feel it, you still the bad. This Sis You a Bad Bitch 2.0 by Shariya Wise also has an extended version, a music meditation that you can get, that you can receive a copy of on ShariyaWise.com. Go over and read those reviews. It's so impactful because it's music, and the more you do it, the more impactful it gets. It's an amazing meditation for feminine energies to help you really balance your feminine and masculine energy so that you can attract, but also go and get everything that you deserve. Yes, ma'am? So if it's in alignment, head to ShariyaWise.com and get your copy of the Sis You a Bad Bitch music meditation to raise your bad bitch vibrations. Yes, ma'am? Now, of course, if you want to connect with me, I am Shariya Wise. That is ShariyaWise on all platforms. But also, if you want to connect with the podcast, that is Affirmation Station Podcast on Instagram and Affirmation Station Pod on TikTok, okay? And then YouTube is where the Affirmation Station Podcast visuals would be. So if you want to see me, if you're listening to this audibly and you want to be able to see me optically, definitely head to YouTube and we can vibe with each other over there. In the meantime, you guys, thank you for creating space with me. Thank you for creating space for yourself. Thank you for being the one that is on the journey towards enlightenment, towards self-development, towards introspection and discovery, and inevitably towards your perception of heaven on earth. I will see you in episode 5 of the Affirmation Station Podcast. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Keep your head up, and I'm going to see you in the next episode. Mwah!